from School of Management, Shastra University. I welcome you to this session to know about the meaning of materials management. The reason behind the managing of materials in an organization. Why should we manage the materials in an organization? In this session, we shall see the necessity of managing the materials in an organization. As materials forms part of the major portion of the cost of finished product, it is necessary for any manager to manage the materials in a more scientific manner. Normally, this materials management includes the receiving of materials, storing of materials in the stores, issuing of materials to the production departments, valuing of these materials that is issued to the production departments, and ascertaining the cost of the materials with the production cost. To know about the total production cost, we must ascertain the cost of materials also. So the manager must be well versed with the various methods of issuing the materials to the production departments and valuing the materials that are issued to the production departments. And he should also be aware of the different items that are stored in the stores. First, we shall see how the materials management is defined. It can be defined as an integrated management approach to planning, acquiring, processing, and distributing production materials from the raw material state to the finished product state. This materials management forms part of the basic business function, which is said to be more responsible for the coordination of planning, sourcing, purchasing, moving, storing, and controlling of materials in an optimum manner, so as to provide predetermined service to the customer at the minimum cost. As we already said, nearly 3/4 of the total cost of production constitute the cost of materials. The materials should be planned right from the sourcing. Before sourcing, a material manager has to receive the requirements from all the production departments for a year or for a month, whatever may be the planned period. Get the material requirements from the production departments. Consolidate it. Make a common purchase order. Before making a purchase order, the manager should go in for sourcing the different material suppliers. Find out the various sources of materials. You just select a supplier who is supplying the materials at the minimum cost without sacrificing the quality of the materials. Whenever materials we speak here, we speak for the raw materials that are to be processed in a manufacturing organization. So the conversion cost is more important because it is the cost of converting a raw material into a finished state or a finished product. Total cost of production minus your raw material cost will be the conversion cost. Any control over the cost of production should aim at controlling the raw materials first. When we say controlling the cost of raw materials, the first objective is to avoid the wastages of materials used in the production. So scientific planning of purchase scientific planning of using in the production part, the scientific planning of moving the materials from the stores to the production part will definitely lead to the control over the cost of materials consumed. That's why we say that a material manager is said to be a responsible person who is going to coordinate right from the planning of your materials. Planning, we mean the planning of total material requirement during a particular period. The period may be 1 year or a half a year or a quarterly or fortnight or a week or a day. So plan the materials needed for the production, taking into account the lead time, the processing time, etc. Then find out the different sources. Evaluate the different sources and find out the source which is going to supply the materials at the minimum cost. Then after finding out the sources of supply, go for placing the order. After placing the order, the purchasing takes place. After the purchasing has been made, the materials are moved to the stores or received and stored in the stores, and the storekeeping is said to be another activity which is said to be an important activity for a manager. When we are going to store the material safety and security is very much important. After storing it, it has to be issued to the production departments and it should be controlled in the production departments. When the controlling takes place, the elimination of waste should also be taken into account. So the material management is said to be a function which is going to coordinate all the activities right from planning till the controlling of materials in the production part in a very optimum manner. Material management is said to be a branch of logistics that deals with the tangible components of supply chain. It covers the acquisition of spare parts and replacements, quality control of purchasing and ordering such parts, and the standards involved in ordering, shipping and warehousing the said parts. The physical arrangement of materials or the spare parts is said to be the materials management. Planning and control of the functions supporting the complete flow of materials and the associated flow of information is called as materials management. The complete cycle, right from planning till the usage of the materials and also the information that is needed along with this cycle is said to be the materials management function. Materials management is concerned with the control of materials in such a manner which ensures the maximum return on working capital. What we mean it as working capital? Working capital is said to be the circulating capital or the revolving capital which is needed to meet the daily requirements in an organization. Whatever capital that is invested in the daily operations of the business, the manager should get a good return on the capital involved. When we will get a good return on the capital involved? When there is an effective utilization of the capital. The effective utilization of the capital can be had only by controlling the materials cost. Controlling is said to be a good sign in an organization, and it is said to be a good weapon in the hands of the manager to have a minimum cost of production in an organization. When we control the wastages itself, automatically the cost of production will come down. When the cost of production comes down, the prices can be controlled and the customers will get benefited. This material management is always concerned with the location of the purchase of materials, where to purchase and when to purchase, how much to purchase. Right? So we have to decide from where we are going to purchase, the time of your purchase, when to purchase, what to purchase, what are the materials to be purchased, how much to purchase, that is said to be the quantity to be purchased. So you must ask questions to yourself whether the purchase are necessitated in an organization, because only the materials that are needed in an organization should be purchased. If the manager is going to purchase the materials which are not actually needed, then the capital will get unnecessarily blocked in the stock, and there may be a risk of obsolescence of that particular stock also. So to avoid this loss, that is loss of obsolescence and the blocking of capital, the interest on your blocked capital, avoid these items. Only then the cost can be controlled. So the materials management deals with the control of materials which is going to have a maximum return on the working capital. It has to arrange for the location of your materials and the storage of the materials and how to move the materials from the stores to the production departments. We have various material handling equipments to handle the materials, scientific material handling equipments to handle the materials from the stores to the production department. If these materials are to be handled manually, there may be a wastage of materials in handling it. The proper instructions given to the workers regarding the handling of the materials, the scientific equipments we are going to involve with the transportation of materials will definitely help to control over the cost of materials. The materials manager is responsible for transporting the materials from the stores to the production department. The distribution of the materials from the stores to the production department should also be planned in advance, and the persons involved in transportation should be given proper instructions how to handle the materials while transporting from the stores to the production department. This materials management is said to be an integrated approach which integrates various activities regarding the materials and to control over the cost of materials, which in turn have an impact over the cost of production also. The materials manager has to first receive the material requisitions from the different departments, namely the production departments, and consolidate the requisitions and make it as a single order. When we are going to have a centralized purchasing, the materials manager is going to consolidate the various requisitions received from the departmental heads, the functional departmental heads, and it has to be consolidated by the materials manager and to be placed in a single order. When we are placing the single order, we can get the different advantages of the centralized purchasing, wherein there is a bargaining power of the purchaser. We'll get a trade discount, we'll get a cash discount, that minimum transportation cost involved. The centralized purchasing is said to be a beneficial one when we have the routine materials to be purchased. If any specialized materials are to be purchased in a most urgent manner, in those cases the departmental heads, the functional departmental heads may be given the power to purchase on their own, subject to the supervision of the materials manager. So the material manager should also be technically qualified to know about the different types of materials and the necessity of purchasing those materials, how they are used in the manufacturing process, etc. This centralized purchasing will be made by the materials manager, and the order will be placed from the purchase department based on the requisitions received from the materials department. The purchase manager is going to place a different order, and single order, and the purchase manager will go for issuing the tenders. Tenders may be issued in the newspapers specifying the various specifications of the materials needed for the purchase. The tenders may be of different types. We can go for open tender, wherein the advertisements will be given in the newspapers and the quotations will be received from the different suppliers based on the specifications issued in the tender notices. The suppliers will send the quotations in a sealed cover. The purchase manager will receive all the quotations and they will discuss it with the most important officials in the organization. Based on the price and the quality of the materials mentioned, they will select a supplier who has quoted as minimum price, but at the same time the quality will not be sacrificed, and they will place an order with the supplier. This is in case of an open tender. We have a limited tender wherein only small number of suppliers will be selected. Limited tender or closed tender. Only a small number of suppliers will be selected and they will be given the quotation and they will be given the specifications. And the quotations will be received from the suppliers and the purchase manager will evaluate the different quotations. At times we will have a single tender, wherein the tender will be issued only to a single supplier. Normally in economics we call it as monopsony. We will have a single seller and a single buyer. A single tender will be issued only to a single supplier, and the single supplier will give the quotation and that quotation will get accepted. What are maybe the type of tenders that are issued to the outside people? The purchase manager is said to be a responsible person to evaluate the various quotations and select a quotation based on the quality and the price. After the quotation has been set, is selected, then the order will be placed. The purchase manager will place an order and the supplier is going to supply the materials. When the supplier supplies the materials, they have to supply the materials to the organization with 5 copies of their chalons. 1 copy will be received at the doorsteps of the factory or an organization for the entry purpose. The second copy will be given to the stores, ensuring that the materials are being stored in the stores and that has been downloaded or unloaded to the stores. And the third copy will be given to the purchase department, informing that the order has been delivered. The fourth copy will be given to the accounts department, mainly to account for the cost of production. And the last copy will be given to the finance department for sanctioning the bill. So 5 copies of chalon must be given. After the storekeeper receives the materials, he will go in for the inspection of the materials. The storekeeper can go in for the sample inspection or they can go in for 100% inspection. When the materials are inspected 100%, each and every material will get inspected regarding the quality. When the sample inspection is made, samples will be drawn from the goods supplied and they will be inspected. Suppose if the materials are not as per the order placed or as per the samples shown by the supplier, then the materials can be sent back to the supplier. And the stores that are received will be called as received stores and they will be sent to the bins, the place where the materials are to be stored. They are called as received stores. And we have rejected stores namely the stores which are not up to the mark or up to the quality, then they will be rejecting it and they will send it back to the supplier. And there are certain stores which can be stored in quarantine. We call it as quarantine stores. We are not accepting it, but subject to the instruction by the supplier, those goods will be taken back. Those goods are called as quarantine stores or quarantine goods. After placing all the stores in the bins, we call it as material order. A place for everything and everything in its place. All the materials must be stored in a particular place meant for it. Only then proper storing without any wastages can be made. After storing it in the bins, the storekeeper will start issuing the materials to the production departments. In the bin cards, they will mention the quantity that is received. Bin card is a card attached to the bin, stating that such and such materials have been received on a particular date. Store's ledger is a ledger maintained by the storekeeper outside the stores, mentioning the quantity and the value of the materials issued to the various production departments chronologically. The bin card shows the various levels of the inventory that are to be maintained. So the materials will be issued to the various production departments based on the material requisitions that are given by the production departments as and when they need it. This is said to be the normal material purchase procedure and issue procedure in an organization, and the materials manager has to integrate all the functions of receiving the requisitions first from the production departments, consolidating and placing an order to the purchase department, then receiving the stores, inspecting the stores, placing it in the bins, and once again issuing it as per the requisitions that are made by the production department then and there. So a materials management is said to be an integrated system or an integrated approach which includes right from planning, sourcing, receiving, storing and issuing the materials. With this background, we shall see the objectives of the materials management. The materials management says that all the materials must be purchased with the right quality, right quantity and at the right time from the right source. Based on this ask, the right time, right source, right quantity, right quality, the objectives of materials management can be disseminated as follows. First one being buying at a lowest price consistent with the desired quality and service. As we have already discussed, the price must be at the lowest one. But that doesn't mean that the quality has to be sacrificed. So the price has to be taken care of. And you have to select a price which is said to be the lowest price from the quotations received from the supplier. And again, the quotation must ensure the quality and the service. What is meant by service here? A continued service to the organization. Continued service here we mean uninterrupted supply of materials or continuous supply of materials to facilitate the continuous flow of production. Suppose if there is any disruptions or any constraints or any problems in the supplier's factory, say if there is any labor problem or electricity problem, that is a power problem, or any other problems that are faced by them, some technical problem or financial problem. Suppose if they have any problems in their own place that will disturb the supply of materials in a continuous manner. So this will definitely interrupt the production of our organization also. So a continued service, a quality service must be ensured with the lowest cost. The next objective being have a high inventory turnover. Why should have a high inventory turnover? What is meant by inventory turnover? Inventory turnover means how many times the inventory is turned over into cash. A higher inventory turnover says that the materials are turned over and they are used in the production. The obsolescence of the materials will be very less in case of higher inventory turnover. Normally, the materials should be stored only as per the requirements. Excess storage or storing the materials lesser than the required is not advisable. Shortage of materials is also not advisable, and excessive materials is also not advisable. Though we have advantages of excessive storing, we can say that the materials are stored in excess mainly to have a buffer to face the production requirements abnormally. When you receive extra orders, then we can face situations. But in practice, excessive materials will definitely lead to the increase in the cost of maintaining the materials. Technically, we call it as carrying the materials. We need storing place, the salary of the storekeeper, the cost of the bins, the capital block, the interest on the capital. All these things will definitely increase the cost of production. So the carrying cost will be higher in case of excessive stocking. Excessive stocking will also lead to the risk of obsolescence, loss of materials by theft or by natural calamities like fire, flood, etc. So the excessive storage should not be made in any organization. At the same time, shortage should not be there. This shortage will definitely hamper the production flow. So the optimum size should be found out by knowing the holding cost and also the ordering cost. That is called as the economic ordering quantity. The ordering quantity is said to be economical when the ordering cost and carrying cost is said to be minimum. So the inventory turnover will depend upon the quantity of materials to be purchased by the materials manager. The inventory turnover is said to be a technique or a tool in the hands of the materials manager to know about the fast moving goods or slow moving goods or non moving goods. Depending upon the turnover of this inventory, the manager can go in for the selective control technique, where to have more control or where to have less control. Maintaining the continuous supply of materials to avoid the interruptions in the flow of materials to the production spot is said to be the second major objective of any materials manager. Maintaining the consistency of the quality of the materials and checking the quality of the materials whenever that is to be received by the storekeeper is said to be an effective function to be performed by him. This efficient and effective function of checking the quality of the materials will decide the quality of the finished goods also. To ensure the quality of the finished goods, the quality of the raw materials should also be checked frequently. Developing a reliable sources of supply, which is said to be an alternate one to the current one, is a necessity for a materials manager. Suppose if the present supplier is not able to supply, then the materials manager must know where to purchase next. So he must source the alternative sources of supply also, because any hindrance in the present supplier's place should not affect our own production. So to promote the competitive advantage, the materials manager should be able to locate the alternative sources of supply. The cost of acquisition of the materials should also be controlled. The cost of ordering and acquiring the materials should also be controlled by the materials manager. This cost control will also improve the efficiency of the different operations and procedures. Hiring, developing, motivating and training the personnel involved in the materials management is also a function of a materials manager, and it is said to be the major objective of the materials manager also. He has to select a person who is technically sound to handle the material equipments, material handling equipments, and also the materials is more important. If the person is not that much proficient enough to handle the materials or the material handling equipments, proper training should be given to them and proper instructions should be given to them to handle those equipments and also the materials. Maintaining a good relationship with the vendors, namely the suppliers of materials, is also more important, because the supplier's attitude towards the organization should be admirable and they must be very cordial to our organization. Only if you are going to maintain a good vendor-vendee relationship, then the supply of materials in a very continuous manner is ensured. The organization can also furnish good ideas regarding the products, regarding the technique of the producing the products, and this technique can be informed to the suppliers' places also. So there should be a proper coordination, there should be a good atmosphere between the vendor-vendee, the vendor being the supplier and the vendee being the organization. There should be good cooperation and coordination among the production departments. Say for example, if particular production department is having an excess materials, it can transfer it to the another department which is in need of the materials. So sending the materials back to the stores and the stores is sending to the needy department, that will involve a cost and the time. You can avoid the cost and the time of transporting to the stores and from the stores. So the excess materials which are in production department 1 can be transferred to the production department number 2 easily. So they must have a complete understanding between them and they must actually analyze what is the actual requirements of those departments, and they can interchange the materials from one department to the another department. So the user departments must be properly coordinated and they must have a proper understanding among themselves. maintaining the good stock records, and providing good accounts recording the cost of the materials consumed in any organization is said to be an essential one. Whenever the auditing of materials comes, the materials manager should provide the records up to date and with a lot of integrity and honesty. The materials manager should submit the records. This will ensure the efficiency in maintaining the records, and again it will gain the goodwill of the organization. So a materials manager should be prudent enough to maintain the records, and no frauds or scams should be there in utilization of the materials. The materials manager can also participate in the decision making at the management level, whether to make or buy. Suppose if the organization is going for the buying of a particular component from outside market, then they will decide upon what is the cost of manufacture and what is the cost of purchase. They will compare it. If the cost of purchase is said to be a lower one than the cost of manufacturing inside, they will go in for the cost of purchase. If the cost of manufacture is going to a lesser one, then they will manufacture. So the cost of manufacture and cost of purchase will be discussed, and they are going to take a decision whether to make or buy. In this decision, the materials manager can also participate, telling about the cost of maintaining the stores also. So with regard to the materials management, the main objectives being buying it at a lower price, buying at a desired quality and your service, and next one is maintaining the various levels of inventories without having an excessive or shortage of stocks, accessing the turnover of the inventories regularly, assuring a continuous supply, and maintaining the consistency of the quality, finding out the alternative sources of supply, then informing the management regarding the cost of acquisition, then hiring the personnel, developing them, motivating them, and training them in handling the materials, maintaining a vendor-vendee relationship in a very smoother manner, getting cooperation and coordination among the production departments or the user departments, maintaining good records with a prudent manner, then participating in the decisions of make or buy. These are all the basic objectives of a materials management, wherein the materials manager must have all these objectives, keeping in mind supplying the goods at a good quality or the right quality and the right quantity and at the right time and at the right source. So materials manager is going to play a very important role, very significant role in ensuring the continuous production, or we can say it as uninterrupted production with a minimum cost. Once again, the cost of production is going to have the major cost as the cost of materials. So the cost of materials should be controlled or administered by the materials manager, and his role makes the cost of production as a controllable one. With this, we can understand the meaning of materials management and the objectives behind it. Thank you.
Integrated materials management evolved as a rationale for bringing all the materials related activities under one common head, the materials manager, to permit uninterrupted flow of raw material, and also the components and parts from the suppliers to the corporation, to all consumer points, the organization and distribution of finished goods at the minimum cost. Integrated materials management is concerned with planning, directing, controlling the kind, amount, location, movement and timing of various flows of materials used in and produced by the processes. Integrated materials management also encompasses production, planning on one hand and distribution of finished goods to customers on the other. Companies which have these activities transferred under integrated materials management setup have found encouraging results by way of improved coordination and reduced inventories. Thus, they evolved the concept of integrated materials management as a function which is responsible for the coordination of planning, selecting sources, purchasing and moving, storing and controlling materials in an optimum manner so as to provide a pre-desired service to the customers at the minimum cost. Integrated materials management is helpful in order to attain highest material productivities, and it is possible when there is coordination and integration of different areas in material decision, inventory control, proper supply and demand management. The lead time, standardization, codification and variety reduction are also the areas which are to be covered under integrated materials management. The development of vendors affects the inventory control. Now we will see the necessity for integrated materials management. First one is the planning function. Materials manager deals with the following functions and issues: to prepare sales projection transaction with a long requirement of materials, to update production plan adjusted to the latest sales demand, to adjust the materials as per the requirement, and to prepare the facilities required for production. So the materials manager has to deal with the production function, namely updation of the production plan as per the sales projection, then to adjust the materials as per the requirement and to prepare the facilities that are required for the production. Next comes the production control. It develops short-range operational plan and schedule from the long-range plan. To direct and regulate orderly movement of materials, to use of entire manufacturing cycle right from the procurement of raw materials up to the delivery of finished goods to the consumer, then to ensure minimum inventory investment and to maximize the manufacturing efficiency. So this is the necessity with regard to the production control, that is to regulate the movement of materials, and that too it should be in an orderly manner to minimize the inventory investment and to maximize the manufacturing efficiency. The next area in which the material management is said to be necessary is inventory control. This inventory control is related with ensuring the activity of attempt that to meet requirement of optimum cost. Inventory control is concerned with the requisitioning of material according to the requirement, to take the decision about the optimum size of the order, which is otherwise called as economic ordering quantity, to keep updated records of materials received, to issue the materials and maintain a record of it, and to report the inventory report in detailed manner. The next area in which the significance of materials management is felt is the purchasing. The main objective of purchasing is to procure the materials of desired quantity at the desired time to meet the specification of the production. This will require the selection of appropriate supplier, placing of order to the selected suppliers, ensuring the delivery of materials to meet the requirements, purchasing at the lowest and the reasonable ultimate cost, and to keep watch on the market condition for the new as well as the substitute type of materials. The next area comes the receiving and stores. This function is related to the materials management in respect of accepting the delivery of purchased materials, to verify and check with the purchase order and acquisition slip, to prepare the goods received notes for stores and the account section, to issue materials according to the direction or the orders placed, then to issue the materials according to the authorized requisition issued by the purchase department. So the receiving and storing the materials is also related with the materials management. The last comes the shipping dispatch. The shipping and dispatch is concerned with the distribution, loading of finished goods. It involves the receiving of finished goods from the production department, verifying the quantity and quality of materials with the specification, to pull the goods from the stores, to identify the customers and put the packing label, and to prepare the shipping document like railway receipt, bill of lading, etc. So the materials management is necessitated in the different functional areas like planning function, production control function, inventory control function, purchasing function, receiving and storing function, shipping and dispatching function. So these 6 areas will tell about the need for integrated materials management. Based on the necessity of the integrated materials management, let us now see the various functions of the integrated materials management. First function is planning and sourcing. Material planning includes decision relating to when, how, what and why to procure material. It helps to analyze the problem, to find out the solution and to understand the requirement of materials on time. It also helps to prepare the materials budget, forecasting the levels of inventories, scheduling the order and monitoring the performance in relation to the production and sales. Budgeting. Budgeting is an important function of the integrated materials management. Preparing a proper budget for material requirements and supplies is required to realize the economic benefits of this management. Research and analysis. Integrated materials management helps for finding the new sources of supply, the substitute type of material at a reasonable price, collect the data from various sources and rating the vendors of the organization. And developing the vendors is also of equal importance. Indenting and procuring. A supply chain is a network of facilities that performs the functions of procurement of material, transformation of material to intermediate and finished products, distribution of finished products to the customers. Often, organizational barriers between these facilities exist and information flows can be restricted such that complete centralized control of material flows in a supply chain may not be feasible or desirable. Next comes the moving and preservation. Receiving of material, moving to the proper place for easy availability is on the important functions of integrated materials function management. So receiving of materials and moving to the proper place for the easy identification and availability of the material is considered to be one of the main functions of the integrated materials management. It also includes the preservation of materials in a desired form without affecting its own shape, color and size. Wherever there is a demand for the goods, it has to be supplied as per the requirement. So the movement of the materials and also the preservation of the materials is considered to be most important function of integrated materials management. Accounting and controlling. Accounting refers to the recording of goods as per the first in first out, last in first out and weighted average method for easy reference purpose. Controlling functions are the safe custody of the material in the shop to avoid the theft, misutilization, damage, deterioration, filtration, etc. So proper accounting of materials will reduce the wastage of materials, and the proper controlling of materials will help for the optimum investment in the inventories. Issuing and dispatching. After receiving the materials from different suppliers, it has to be issued to the different departments where it is prepared in the factory and dispatched when the order is received from the others. Disposing. Disposing the material at the proper place is one of the important tasks of the Integrated Materials Management Department. It ensures proper disposal of materials and their proper arrangement of materials. Departmental efficiency. Development or system of maintaining good record is also a main function of materials management, and it also depends upon the efficiency of the manager and his initiatives. Next comes the standardization. It is the responsibility of the materials management to review the stock and to suggest non-standard items and standard items which give higher quality at the lower cost. So standardization will lead to the simplification, and it will also lead to the rationalization of the materials, which will definitely lower the cost by reducing the variety of the items. Product development. The discovery and alternative use of material frequently lead to the development of new products, which helps in lowering the cost of the existing product. It can suggest the material components and parts which will be available at the lowest cost. The last one is the forecasting. Materials manager prepare the estimation of sale and requirement of materials by analyzing and interpreting the data of past sales and seasonal variations in demand and supply. Thus, the integrated materials management has the basic functions of planning and sourcing, budgeting, research and analysis, indenting and procuring, moving and preservation, accounting and controlling, issuing and dispatching, disposing, efficiency of the departments, standardization, product development and forecasting. Next we shall see the scope of integrated materials management. The scope of integrated materials management consists of purchasing, production planning and controlling, material handling, inventory control, storage, transport control, packing and packaging, warehousing, disposal of scrap and surplus, quality control, customs and customer service. We shall see one by one. Purchase. It is the process of buying the materials. The buying procedure or the purchasing procedure includes the need determination, selection of the best suppliers, arriving at the prices through negotiations, terms and conditions of the agreements, and ensuring the proper delivery of materials. The production planning and controlling involves detailed schedule of parts and materials required to be produced in order to realize an outlined production program or a sales forecast approved by management, and helps the production planning and control. Material handling deals with an arts and science of handling the materials. It involves moving, packaging and storing of material. It is a scientific study and analysis of handling and movement of materials. It is used to reduce time required to move a unit of material from one location to the another. Inventory control deals with the policy followed for the holding of the stock of raw materials and finished goods. It must have a minimum investment at the right quality with the right quantity with the minimum carriage cost. There should not be overstocking and there should not be understocking, but it should be balanced. The inventory control techniques like ABC analysis, Z analysis, XYZ, represent, we have many methods of inventory control where we will see it in the following units. This inventory control techniques will definitely help to maintain optimum level of stock for the production purposes. Overstocking, though it has its advantage of having a buffer stock, but it has a main disadvantage of excessive investments. Understocking has a main disadvantage of interrupting the production flow. So neither overstocking nor understocking can be had in an organization. Any materials manager, to be efficient enough, has to maintain only the optimum level of stock by following the selective inventory control techniques. Storage. Storage is concerned with the physical handling and housing of the parts and materials, either got or manufactured for sale, as it saves the cost on the pack. So storage of materials is concerned only with the physical handling of the materials. Storing of materials is placing the materials in the respective places, a place for everything and everything in its place. A bin, a place for the material. A bin may be a room or a rack or an open space. So a bin should be placed for every material, and every material should be placed in a bin. So that is called as proper storing of materials. This proper storing of materials will definitely save the materials, and it ensures the safety and security of the materials. Transport control. It is concerned with assessing the total cost of transportation. Transportation includes loading and unloading, method of packaging, and the time of transit. It is concerned with the material cost policy of the company with regard to the regularity of the rail services and freight structure availability. Packing and packaging. Packing means wrapping of a product with a wrapping paper. Packaging means packing a product with the help of containers, tins, cans, box, glass bottles, or a plastic bottle. It is the responsibility of the department to reduce the cost of packaging and packing and the cost of delivery. The scope of packaging is much wider than the packing. Warehousing. Responsibility for the control of finished goods and materials lies in the hands of the manager to warehouse and store in a proper manner. It brings coordination and understanding among the concerned department. Disposal of scrap and surplus. Scrap and disposal of surplus creates funds from the wastages. The suppliers are interested in disposal to avoid inventory carrying cost and to reduce the overall cost. So the scrap that is sold will be included in the miscellaneous income, and it is said to be the revenue for the organization. Carrying the scrap is said to be an extra carrying cost, so it should not be maintained by the organization, and it must be sold then and there to reduce the overall cost of production. Quality control. Quality control is one of the important aspects of the integrated materials management. The inspection of the incoming raw material and the supplier's operation is required for avoiding the problem of damages and wastages. Quality control can be made as 100% inspection or a sample inspection. Customs. Customs is concerned with the clearance of goods across the national borders and deals with the tariff applied and excessive paperwork. Customer service. Customer service depends upon the nature of the product and image of the company. So the ultimate aim of any organization is to have a customer as delighted. So proper control of inventories will lead to the proper control of the production, and the production planning will be in a very efficient manner, thereby increases the sales and the profitability of an organization. Now we shall see the role and responsibilities of a materials manager. Materials manager plays a very important role in the integrated materials management. He ensures the conduct of all interrelated functions of integrated organization. His roles and responsibilities are as follows: to place an order as per the production plan and to take a follow-up from the suppliers, to inspect the materials from invoice or the purchase requisition, to coordinate with the different departments such as production department, stores department, personnel department, accounting department, finance, etc. To place and store the materials at a proper place as per the features, nature, size and types of the product. To keep records of the materials. To issue the materials as per the note given by the authentic authority, maybe the production manager. To make an arrangement of issuing and transportation of materials. To maintain proper inventory planning. Then to fulfill the major objectives of the company, namely reduction of costs and increasing the profit. To facilitate the managerial decisions regarding the cost reduction and the enhancement of the profitability. To determine the proper methods and use of equipment handling, storing, maintaining and shipping the stock. To report regarding materials related information to the organization. To plan the oversee material movement planning as per the production cycle. To generate purchasing recommendation reports and action control. It is also a material control system that attempts to keep adequate inventory levels to assure that required materials are available when needed. Next we shall see the interdepartmental relationship, that is the relationship of the materials management with regard to the other functions of the management. In any organization, all departments try together to attain the organizational objectives. In order that they pull together, there should be interrelationship and excellent coordination of the efforts. All other departments in a firm need materials management department's help to purchase the requirement of materials, machinery, equipments, supplies, stationery items, furniture, etc. Hence, mutual cooperation and good interrelationship should be done between the departments for the smooth functioning of any organization. Now, we shall mention the different departments which are related to the materials management department. Right from the sales department, finance department, personnel department, external agencies department, research and development department, stores department, the purchase department, production department and the inspection department. We shall see how these departments are interrelated with the materials management now. First we shall start with the purchase department. How the materials manager is related or how he is coordinating with the purchase department. Materials manager has to coordinate with purchase department in order to understand and analyze the requirement and use of materials in the purchase department, as purchase department cannot perform its duties without the materials manager. So he has to get the requirement and he has to purchase it with the help of the materials manager. Next is coordination with the production department. In a manufacturing enterprise, the function of materials department is to procure right quality, right quantity and store it in the economical terms. The production is based on the functions of materials management as it appears to do the product research, procurement, operations, the bulk purchase and the development of the alternative sources of supply. Now we shall see how this inspection department is related with the materials manager. Incoming goods are first checked for quality, quantity and other specifications by the inspection department. It is only when the inspection department is fully satisfied with the incoming goods and that the goods are accepted by the materials management department. So that must be a proper coordination between an inspection department and the materials management department. Only if the inspection department approves about the quality of the materials received, the materials management department is going to receive it and send the copy to the finance department and accounts department for the proper payment of the money to the suppliers. Next comes the marketing department. The materials management helps the marketing department in selling it at a low cost as possible so that the company can maintain a competitive selling position in the market. The materials manager also interacts with the marketing manager with regard to the customer service, market intelligence, price trends of the commodities, forecast of the finished goods, stock level and the market research. Next is the finance department. The materials manager should have a knowledge in answering the queries of the finance manager who arranges the working capital for the inventories. Proper coordination between these two departments will help in avoiding understocking or overstocking, which leads to the blocking of working capital. In case of overstocking, the capital will be blocked in the stores. In case of understocking, there will be work in progress in the production departments. Coordination with the personnel department. The personnel manager can help the materials department on a legal aspects, guaranteeing the manpower planning and in motivating the personnel. Everything is connected with the stock matters like recruitment, promotion, disciplinary action, etc. has to be handled only through the personnel department. Coordination with the external agencies. Externally, the material functions interact with the transporters, carriers, railways, insurance companies, bankers, suppliers, subcontractors, the tax departments, licensing authorities and other government agencies. The materials management department should organize itself to meet the challenging needs arising from the above departments and to sort out the differences with the departments. Coordination with the R&D department. Research and development department helps in finding the new sources of supply at a reasonable cost to minimize the cost. New methods and techniques are used based on the research and innovative ideas of related industries. Coordinating with the stores department. It helps in maintaining the preservation of materials in stores department and it also enhances the scope of warehousing. Thus, the materials management is related with the purchase department, production department, inspection department, sales department, finance department, personnel department, external agencies, R&D department and the stores department. So this interdepartmental relationship must lead to the coordination with the other departments. So this integrated materials management will definitely have the connecting links with all these departments and this materials management department will achieve its main objective of reducing the varieties, minimizing the cost and increasing the profitability. In this session, we saw about the integrated materials management scope and the responsibilities of the materials manager in integrated materials management and the interrelationship of the materials management department with the other departments. Thank you.